Hi everybody, welcome to Blitzkrieg Modelworks. I'm Bob, you know me as Darklow on the forums. How's it going everybody? I'd like to really apologize to everybody for not putting up a whole heck of a lot of videos. I really haven't had time to build, much less film anything. So right now I'm going to go through some of the projects that I'm working on, some of the stuff that I'm going to tackle later on after these are done. What has been going on, work's been just absolutely gonzo. I maybe get a couple hours a week to build, so that's not a whole heck of a lot. So I've been spending a lot of that time actually going through my stash. I know some of you guys have some pretty impressive stashes. I've whittled my stash down from 500 plus kits down to just over 150 kits. That does not include figures, accessories, aftermarket stuff, resin, tracks, etc., etc., etc. And I'll probably be thinning that down a little bit more. A lot of the stuff that I'd gotten was stuff at the time it was all you could get, and now, you know, after 10 years, there's so much more available, so many more projects I can do and get them done a heck of a lot quicker because I have a better starting base. A good example is the new Sheridan, I think it's Academy or AFE Club that makes it. I didn't really look into it too much, but I've got the old Tamiya one. The one I have actually has the motorization, not just the motorization holes, but has the motors and the battery holder and everything in it. It is a really old one. So I'm just trying to clear out all the stuff I know I'm not going to build, or the stuff that I know I'm not going to build, because there's way better starting points available now. So to start with, for the channel update, the Italy Leopard 2 is effectively done. It went for a little bit of a tumble and I lost both antennas and a couple of handguards. Easy replacement, no problem. I've started doing some of the wash on the intake grills, exhausts on the back, and started doing some weathering on some of the more plasticky vinyl stuff that the Germans use. Big holdup is I am trying to find this stuff called blue tack or something similar that I can mask off to do the winter whitewashing that I wanted to do on this. Now, apparently guys are saying that you can get this stuff at places like Staples. We have 2 Staples here where I am, and I can't find this crap anywhere. So I don't want to use tape or anything, but the whitewash that's currently used is not like what the Germans of old did. It's much more neatly done, even though there's a lot of paint runs and drips. They don't wipe, at least the German vehicles that I've seen, they haven't like painted the whole vehicle whitewash like they used to do in World War II. So for all intents and purposes, other than repairing some damage and doing the snow on this and maybe a little more weathering, this puppy's pretty much done, and plop her on a base and she'll be good to go. So I'll be doing a bit of a video. I've got some video that I shot when I was doing some of the washing to show guys who have not done washing, who think it may be difficult, how easy it really is to do. And I'll be, when I set this thing on the base, I'll do some more about how to do the snow. That's actually baking soda and some white glue. So on to the next subject. Okay, next up is my entry for the Stug Life group build, which is officially over, but there's still several of us still building. So I did the Tamiya Stug 3 early, and I put the Aztec Zimrit set, which was very, very old and very, very brittle, and it was very difficult to fit. The new stuff apparently is much better. You can put it in hot water and you can kind of stretch it and pull it and, you know, tease it a little bit to get it to fit a little bit better, but my stuff was a good 15, probably pushing 20 years old. So I used 2 different photo etch sets as well. I used the Aber set. I did not use all of it, but I used a good chunk. And for the shirtsen, or the side skirts, and the hangers, I used the Voyager set, as well as and the Aber barrel, which you guys have seen before, which was a bit of a nightmare to put together because it's small, tiny, fiddly little parts. The hanger brackets for the shirtsen, I don't know how well I can get in here. Maybe not. I actually soldered those instead of glued because I knew they were going to get banged around a fair bit. Some of the detail with the clamp sets, All those clamps were fully operational until I glued them down. One problem that I had with this Voyager set is the way they have you assemble it according to their instructions. They give you some plastic rod and the like, and if you see, there's 2 holes. Those 2 holes are supposed to line up with 2 holes in the hanger bracket, and you're supposed to put photo etch nuts and bolt heads on either side, and that works for each and every one of them. And as you can see, they don't tend to line up very well. Now, some of that's probably me. Some of it I question whether you needed to do that at all. I don't think it really makes a stronger joint. I don't necessarily think it means a more realistic joint. You could have easily etched a little indent as to where to put stuff, where to put the bolts. But as far as doing the assembly, it went okay. It would have been nicer if they didn't have that anyway. The commander's hatch, part of the loader's hatch. The other piece is in the box, buried under a bunch of stuff at the moment, but it's all done with the linkages and everything ready to go. The wheels are already painted and partially weathered. That's just a dark brown grungy oil wash I just slathered on everything. Now the skirts are kind of unique that they have on here. I've only ever seen brass skirts before, but Voyager give you aluminum. And it's actually kind of pre-primed in this green. So what I did is I figured out which ones I was going to use, where I was going to put them, and then I damaged them accordingly with light arms fire, heavy arms fire, some damaging from getting caught on whatever they were driving around. Being that it's aluminum, it actually takes the damage pretty nicely. And this damage was really easy to do. I used, where the heck did it go now? It's not in my, I just used a little scribing awl. This is an old TriMaster one. I totally reprofiled it to a point. What was on there was crap. I just did this and a 2x4 with a hole drilled in it. And just poke, and then for the really light arm stuff like up here, it was just a matter of tap. So once those are all done, and one of them is totally fresh, it will just be primered, and the German red-brown primer and maybe some chalk marking and very, very light weathering, and then thrown on. So this still has a fair bit to go, but basically the building's done and it's ready to go into paint. The photo etch was a lot more work than I remember, but was still fairly enjoyable. It's a relearning experience, and I also almost missed this out. I've got ferrule tracks, metal tracks for that. Fully functional, put in with their standard wire and glue. I used gun blue for this, Birchwood Casey. Don't recommend it. It left this kind of almost a white, I don't know what you'd call it, almost like a calcium buildup. I know it's not calcium, but it's like a white bloom, and it's really thick, and it's a pain in the butt to get off. I had to scrub the crap out of it with a toothbrush to get it to clean up. And then I had to throw a wash of Tamiya dark iron onto it to kind of fill in all the other blanks. I probably should have just done that in the first place. But otherwise, went really well. Only took a couple hours to put those together. So that's it for the Stug. I'm not going to worry about the figures right now. The mini arts are a lot rougher than I thought they initially were once I put some primer and paint on them, so they're going to need a bit more work until I'm happy with them. So we'll go on to the next build. Okay, next up is my entry for that 70s build, which is still ongoing and which will only take me a few hours to get it finished if I get the time to actually get it finished. Construction overall is pretty much done. Onto the painting, I've used Tamiya XF1 mixed 50-50 with lacquer thinner as a primer, and Tamiya XF3 yellow, flat yellow, for pre-shading. Now the idea behind pre-shading is Once I get this done, I actually have to go over some of this a bit more. Some of it's still a little dark. It doesn't pop as much. I might put some actual just white in a few places. When I spray over with the olive drab, this will show through slightly and will give a slightly different shade of olive drab. I've done it on the lower hull. I don't know how well this will show up. That looks pretty decent. So it's not yellow when you paint over it. It's actually kind of a lighter shade of OD. So the lower hull turned out really well. Impressed with that. Still got the upper hull to do. And the turret, don't worry about the figures. They were the ones I did for that face painting bit. And one of the rolls for the sides. But that's it for this puppy. Again, it's just a few hours of painting and it's ready to go. I might put it on a little base with some sandpaper to replicate some pavement, or maybe going down a dirt or gravel road. I don't know. I'm getting tired of building stuff that just sits on a shelf. I don't like shelf queen type stuff. I like stuff that there's something going on to attract your eye to it, rather than, oh, look at the pretty tank sitting on the shelf. But I'll come up with something for this one. So now to get into some of the older stuff, and we're going to go way back into the vaults for some of the stuff that I've got sitting on the shelf. Okay, this is a build I was doing just before I started my YouTube channel and joined the YouTube modelers group. This is a Bronco Panzer 1F that I had started. This is, or was, should I say, I was building this as my entry into the TrackLink Bronco group build, Bronco contest. Bronco Model sponsored a contest. You could build any Bronco armor kit you wanted. Scale did not matter. The only non-armor kit they allowed was the Horsa glider, if you happen to have one, because it was 1/35th. But basically anything goes. You can build it out of the box and do whatever. So I got into it rather late. There was only about a month or so left before I finally decided on what kit I wanted, and I picked the Panzer 1F because it looked really funky. It didn't look like most other Panzers. This thing is, when you look at the armor plate and that on this vehicle, this thing is like a considering it only has a couple of 8mm MG34 machine guns for armament, this thing's a rolling fortress with the armor plate that it's got. It's quite the little tank. So what I was going to do with this, if I can find the picture, was there was a this picture I had found online of a Panzer 1F stuck in the mud. Very stuck in the mud, and these markings actually come with this kit. So cool, awesome, I can do that. You know, the commander's hatch is open. Undoubtedly there's a hatch on the side that's open because, as you can see, it comes with a full, fairly well detailed interior. It was just the figure. It does not come with any figures. Well, I had this old Warriors figure of a guy standing there. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. Now, he didn't have the peak cap. He had a kind of the more the brim hat, but I do have, and I'm not sure where I got this head from. He's been partially shaded. I'm not very happy with it. I'll strip it and redo him. But I love the facial expression on this guy. It's you can tell this guy's kind of cold. I'm guessing maybe that's kind of a plume of breath coming out because it's cold outside. You know, if I could have found an expression like his that's kind of like, oh man, am I in a lot of crap, or how am I going to get this thing out, I would have used it. But this guy came up. I found this guy in my parts bin, and I thought, yeah, it's kind of one of those things where somebody's in a lot of trouble. So this one still needs a lot of work. I'm maybe 50% done on it. Most of the photo etch is done. It does have Bronco's Link and Link plastic tracks, which are kind of interesting. They're kind of sort of like the old model cast and stuff. where you put the links together and you pin them. They actually had a jig to set it up. Unfortunately, the pins had to be put in separately, model cast, and they rig theirs up so you can put in something like 5 or 6 or 7 at a time, depends on the track length. But not this one. This one you have to do each one individually and then glue it individually. It's a pain in the butt, and they're very fragile. The plastic is, some guys say that Bronco plastic is soft. I find it kind of brittle. Nothing like Tamiya or Dragon at all. But, I mean, it's workable. You know, you're not going vroom vroom across the carpet with it. So that's this one. And now we're going to go way back in time. Okay. This is an oldie from the stash. My wife and kids got this for me probably early 2000s, 2002, 2004, something like that. Tamiya Cromwell. Excellent, excellent kit. Falls together. Not a big fan of British armor, but especially World War II British armor, I just find it really clunky and poorly designed compared to what everybody else was making at the time. Essentially an out-of-the-box build. All I've done is I've replaced all the grab handles with brass wire. The photo etch is Tamiya. They're horrible plywoody, thick stuff. And the only other thing I was doing, I have no idea whose tracks these were at the time. There was nothing in the box to indicate it, but I have a bunch of glue together, link and link plastic tracks. I was going to replace the kit rubber band tracks with these. Actually pretty nice tracks, except that they're link and link and they're a pain in the butt to put together. But you just do a top run and a bottom run and you pop them together and it's not a big deal. So again, this one's pretty much done. I don't know why I just stopped. It's other than the tracks, it's just pound the rest of it together. I have no idea where the figure went. It's not in the box, but I've got some old Alpha Image stuff, some Canadian slash British tank crewmen that I can put in there. And I know there's a crew just for this, so I might do something later on, just leave the hatches open and then throw the guys in later on, put it in a little vignette just to show it off. Well, that's it for this one. So there's more. So this is about same age roughly as the Cromwell kit. This is Tech Mod's 135th Russian T-70 Scout tank that I'd done up. A lot of the pictures I'd seen, apparently the fenders were really thin and cheaply made, so they were just beat to crap on these vehicles by the time they were finally pulled out of service. So I'd started this one up, pretty much an out-of-the-box build. There wasn't anything available at the time. The Tech Mod kit came with these nice glue-together link and link tracks, which I still have lots to put together. A few wheels. And this was actually the kit that I was going to use this figure for. It kind of shows you, kind of to scale, this thing is freaking tiny. It's actually maybe a little bit wider but shorter than the Panzer 1F. So again, another one that's probably a few hours worth of work and then a few hours doing a diorama base, and she's up and running and ready to roll. Next batch. Now here's a real blast from the past. This is mid-90s, this sucker. This is the FCM, or Fine Cast Models. Panther Zerstorer Panther 128 millimeter Jagdpanther kit, conversion kit for the Tamiya Panther G. These came out shortly after Tamiya released their Panther G line in the mid-90s. I've personally never been a huge World War II fan, except when it comes to paper panzers, because it's just so cool. You know, even though this vehicle, I don't think it ever left the paper napkin it was designed on. I just thought it was really cool, and it kind of gives you some interesting ways that the German technology could have gone had the war gone a few more years. Unfortunately, we don't see a lot of this type of stuff with the Allied, because I've seen some of the Allied designs that they had, and some of them are really cool, but nobody's really done much of anything with it, unfortunately. Maybe because the German stuff is so much more cool, or you know, there's all different paint schemes you could have used, and The big thing I didn't like about World War II Allied stuff, even though I do have a fair bit of it, is, you know, basically there's only so many shades of olive drab you can paint. But this started out partial kit, nowhere near completion. The FCM kit, nice, thick, looks well engineered on the inside. But when you flip it over, you find there was all kinds of problems, all kinds of air bubbles. They had used the original Tamiya hull and modified a bunch. They brought the engine deck forward. They skiffed over the main plate, added a few goodies here and there. But there was a noticeable, like, crink step in there. This was a nightmare. This was just air bubble city. I don't know if they even bothered putting it into a vacuum trap or a pressure pot or what, but this is hours and hours and hours of fill, sand, paint, fill, sand, paint, and some of this I can tell I still haven't sanded that down. Fit-wise, it goes on to the Tamiya lower hull. There was an additional armor plate that they had on. Again, lots of problems. There was a rear plate. As you can tell, it came in several pieces. And although I tried to salvage it, it was just easier to modify the existing unit to match. So really all I have to do here, I can feel there's a little bit of puttying or sanding I have to do, but I just have to put these hinges and the access plate on. But fit wise, it fits pretty decently. Oops. In the front, I mean, a little bit of puttying, considering the age of the conversion and that's one thing. It's the back that's nasty. The thing's warped and flared out. I'm gonna have to put this in boiling water. And this was like that when I got this, so that just exacerbates all this issue. So I'm probably going to have to redo the whole thing again. Looking at it now, I don't know what I paid for this. There's no price tag on the box. It was probably $100-ish back in the day, if not more. I probably would have used this as a template to build a decent, proper fitting one and cut some of the parts off, like the texture on the commander's cupola is actually rather nice. But this is actually really cool. This is something that I really like. This type of stuff. And I've got lots of Panther 2s and Panther Fs to do. The gun, which I painted, the matlet is really nicely cast with some machining marks. And then the barrel was turned aluminum, although unfortunately no rifling. But that's a 128 mil unit. And for those guys that have been building long enough, ferrule metal tracks, no big deal, you say. Well, these aren't the ferrule metal tracks you get today. These, even the packaging's different. These are not the wire pin type that you get today. These are like the old original ones. These things had the wire as part of the track. How does that work, you say? You clamped it. There's actually a jig in here. Somewhere. There's a jig in here that you lay the tracks into, and you get them all hooked up. And basically you take a screwdriver and you just gently push down on the clamps. Innovative idea for the time. Nobody had ever done anything like that. All basically you could get for tracks at the time was guys like Skybow and AFE Club and model casting. So this was really unique and really interesting. But that attachment feature was horrible idea. And didn't last very long before they went to the wire mold. So that's the stuff that I've got on the go. I want to try and clear up all this old stuff first, and I'll do some video on some of this stuff. For the Cromwell and the Panzer I, probably when the construction's absolutely completed and they're ready to go, I'll do a short little vid and then a reveal. This one, a little bit more. There's going to be some interesting stuff to put on here. I got to find an interesting camo pattern, something theoretical but really cool. I've actually got another kit I should pull up because it's technically not finished, and it's a bit of a rare one. It's Maus or E100 twin 88 flak conversion. That was a really nice conversion. Drop into the old Dragon Maus or E100 kits, and might want to put it in with something like this, or maybe if I can find the Trumpeter E100, put it in with that, because that's a way nicer looking E100 than the Dragon one, because Dragon just put the Maus turret on and it looks like, I don't know, it looks dumpy to me. So anyway, that's the Shelf Queen stuff that I hope to finish up and share with all of you. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more updates. I really appreciate it, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.